Hi. Oh, the internet is very slow. Sorry about the 2 minute delay there. But tonight we have something very special. We have a new guest, Pat McCray. He is the husband of Robin McCray, who you know and love already because if you've been on in my chat before, you know doggone well that everybody loves Robin. So, and she's in chat. Hello, sweetie. Hello, Robin. Who's here? Let me take a look. Ben is in here. Linda's in here. Robin, just come see your hubby. Bomber and Jean Hudson. Hi, Jean. How you doing? And that's all so far, but I'm sure there'll be some more on the way. Anyway, this is going to be a little bit different view of the same thing with Robin's husband. And he's been a researcher for 7 years. And then 6 years ago, he met Robin, and life has never been the same. Um, so it's, yeah. So basically, we're going to get to hear the other side of what this is like. It is like they're a couple researching Sasquatch. This should be interesting. They have kids. They live out among in the areas where Sasquatch are, and they see them all the time, plus a lot of other cryptids. And so get your questions ready. Okay, the poor man. Hi, Ben. Okay, here he is. Uh, adding to stream. There you go. You're live.
Oh, okay.
Pat
There you
McCray,
go.
Robin McCray's hubby, the other half. Yes. The other half of the equation. Oh my goodness, this should be interesting. Is there anything you'd like to tell us about yourself to start out?
Uh, what do you want me to start from the beginning or how things happened?
That'd probably be about 8 or 9 hours, right?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you.
What got you for? Okay, let me help. Let me help. This is my job. I'm the interviewer here, but I'm gonna just let me do my little. I got to do my little blurb. This is D Ocean's Deep Woo. I'm D Ocean. Welcome to Deep Woo, and we woo is all we do here, and every kind of woo, paranormal, cryptids, spiritual, ghosts, UFOs, whatever have you. But please remember that this is just tips, tricks, and hacks to help you along in this massively multiplayer um, uh, virtual reality, total immersion, holofractal learning game called Life on Earth. That's right. Has nothing to do with real life, quote unquote, which takes place outside the matrix. And with that, we can say whatever we want. Pat, how did you get into this paranormal stuff? How did you get into the cryptids? Maybe that's a bad
Uh,
way of saying it. How did you
well,
first take it?
I've always had like stuff happen to me, like I'll be in the like Walmart or something like that. And then I'd realize that this is really weird. It'd be like somebody from work. I'd have this overpowering sense that someone from work was inside the store. And they were. I mean, they were inside the store. And I used to think about it and I go, well, God, that happened again. It's kind of neat, but then I just put it out of my mind. And then, I watched a Notre Dame game once, and um, Ned Bolkar, uh, before the play developed, I saw it in my mind. And I said, told my brother, I said, he was there. I said, nope, Ned Bolkar is going to intercept the pass and run in for a touchdown. And that's exactly what happened. And he was just like, he was floored. He says, how in the hell did you know that? I said, I don't know, I just saw it. But stuff like that. And then comes, there was a friend that I talked to on Facebook, and this is where the Bigfoot stuff comes in. Okay, as a friend that knew this lady up in Indiana, in Warsaw area, and he went up there he investigated and stuff like that, and he said there was some strange going on. So, basically, he told me, he says, she had some activity and stuff like that. So then I kind of said, well, God, that'd be kind of neat, to go up there. I've never done anything like that before. I've always heard of other people doing it, the investigation and stuff like that. And I said, well, I said, well, hey, can I have the lady's number that you went on her land to look at this stuff? And he said, sure. So I called her and she said I could come up. I think it's every other weekend or something like that. She didn't want me up during the week. So like the first time she has like a gate, you got to go in there, and it's got a padlock on the thing, and you go in, and when you go in, it's like you see the land, and it's on like a plateau hill. So you're going up an incline, and you go all the way up and go into the area, but there's stuff happening down below too. And what the Bigfoot do is, and I've had pictures that show this, is there's like a dry creek bed in that area, and they sit in there and they watch for people. I got pictures of them in the dry creek bed. And they'll watch from the dry creek bed because they can get down. They're really tall, and then they're down in the creek bed. Maybe it's 3, 4, 5 feet up until the edge. So I mean, they don't have to expose themselves that much. So the time I went up there, I had my first tree knock, and then my first picture.
Your first tree knock.
Yeah.
That must have been, yeah.
And
I didn't
then
even know what it was when I first heard that. Yeah, I had no idea. Mm-hmm. Go on.
and I had my first picture. So I brought my phone up there. I took the picture, and I didn't know until months later, until somebody was looking at the picture, and they said, "Oh my gosh, look at that! There's something in there," and there was. So I think it was a small Bigfoot. In the picture, you can see his brow ridge, his eyes. He's right inside the bush, looking at me. I had no, back then, I was kind of clueless. I had no idea that they could come right up on you. And I mean, back then I had no idea they're cloaked,
We don't
nothing.
have any.
Yeah, nada. I had no idea about anything. Portals, nothing. So then the second
That's
time,
why we're doing this show. That's why we're doing these shows.
yeah, that's a
People
good
need to know
thing.
these things. Yes, yes. Go right
Well,
ahead.
anyway, the second time I went up there, we drove up and we were still in the car. And she was I was in the back seat. She was in the front seat, I think. Her husband that came was an absolute complete skeptic. I mean, he never saw anything. He thought it was just Boulder Dash and BS. So uh, we were in the car and we saw this black cloud moving up in the forest. I told her, I said, "You see that?" She says, "Yeah." So we get out, and you know, um, I've seen on that land. I saw like these, and go up, and like a black statue. That's the only way I can describe it. Black statue had maybe diamonds, stuck in the thing itself. And it was really, really odd. And they were black. And I saw them. I told them, I said, my God, I just saw these things over here in the woods over here. And they didn't see any of it. And another time I was up there, we had Indian drums beating. I asked her, I said, well, do you have like a reservation around here for Indians, or is like there a marching band? Is there a marching band playing somewhere? And there wasn't. And it was Indian drums. And we're like up there, and that's all you hear is Indian drums that they're beating. I'm sitting there, good Lord. And this is the thing that really got me going, was what I'm about to say now. Was okay, so when you go up into the woods and you go up, and I told you it's a plateau, and you go up a little incline and you go in, and then there's a circle. It's a circular plateau up there, like a trail. And then you go around in a circle, and then you end up back where you started from. Well, anyway, I told them that day, I said, well, let me go up. I like to do different things. So I said, let me go up alone and see what's up. Okay, so that's exactly what I did. So I went up alone. I went ahead, and I didn't see anything until I got to the entrance to where I started. And to my right, there was a portal opening. And I saw it. I know it was a portal opening. I've talked it over with Robin, and we both agree that it was, and I'm lucky to still be here, because if I would have jumped in it, I would have went wherever that was.
Yeah, who knows if you'd ever come
Yeah,
back.
exactly. So it was following me on my right-hand side, and I'm kind of not really running, but walking real quick. I'm what the, trying to get away from it, because it was like,
What did it look like exactly? What did it look like exactly? Some people
it was
probably
a
never
big,
seen it.
huge black hole. It's basically what it was. Huge black hole following me. Okay, then something shot out of this thing. I saw it. And it went ahead up and ahead of me on a trail. You could drive your cars up there. It was kind of like a trail / drive your car trail. But it was up there, and it appeared for like a second or two, kind of pear-shaped, and it disappeared. And that's when, I'd have, that's when I talked to my wife.
Shape. Pear shape.
Yeah, it's pear-shaped.
Wow.
But when
any particular
there's something else. When I was up there, there's like a backwash. You would go up a small incline, and at the top of the incline was a backwash. It's where, a lot of water would pour down, and then it'd wash all the stuff down the hill. Okay, and it was like like a trail or something, but you can tell because of all the the trees and stuff and all the material that it was a backwash. Well, anyway, I went over there, and I saw this little guy, I'll call him. And now I'm almost positive it was a little Bigfoot. Okay, he was walking, and I saw him, and I came up to just about the entrance to the backwash. He was blacked out. Now picture yourself or me, and like how I am now, but I'm totally black, and there's no shape or form, but you can see me moving. Okay, and that's exactly how he was. My thing is the younger Bigfoots don't have enough expertise to cloak themselves good enough, and that's what I think happened. And he crawled down. I saw him. I was looking right down at him, and he crawled right down into the backwash, walking away. And I saw he's a little guy, and I saw him. It's pretty wild. But that's my take on that. But I talked to my wife about all this stuff. I never heard of portals and um portals or anything like that. She told me all about that. I always thought it was, on TV. So, she told me about the ETs and stuff like that. And um, we basically we talked for a couple of years, and then we fell in love and we got married. Okay, and then the first night that I went to her house, this is really wild. I drove up, and there was a car, and I drove up, and the whole woods erupted with Bigfoot. They vocalized right there and then. And she come out and she goes, I was out in the car. I said, and she goes, "What's wrong?" She came out and she goes, "Oh my gosh, that's pointing toward the woods." I said, "Damn, over there." He says, she told me not to worry about it. So I got out of the car and I went inside the house and stuff like that. But there's so much that both of us have been through. I mean, so much that it's incredible. I mean, I'm almost at the point of I want to write all this stuff down before, I forget about it. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just so much,
People have
so
told me
much.
I need to write a book. I think we all need to write something to keep it.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm doing my best to record the experiences of as many people as I can, but a book is usually nice in case something happens to the power ever. But
yeah. Um, I I had stuff happen in Michigan. They would come, the Bigfoot. They'd come by the window, and
so the big guys, that's what Gene's asking about. If you saw the little guys, there's big guys around, and did you see them? So,
oh, the Bigfoot. Well, I'll tell
mm.
you, I was in Michigan. I used to work for a delivery company. There were two instances. Two. I'll tell you all about the ones I saw. Okay, the one I was going down is in Michigan. Is a road called Marble Road. Still remember that. And it was a little guy. It wasn't a dog, wasn't a fox or anything. Whatever this, I mind spoke with him after I got home. But anyway, he jumped over the entire road with one leap. Incredible. And he was jet black, and there's no way it was a dog. It could have been a dogman. The papa didn't want me talking to him, so I said, "Fine, okay, I won't." So that's how that was left. Now, this is again in Michigan. This is the second instance. So I'm pulling up to the house and making delivery. I'm in the delivery truck. And it's like a van. It's got the back windows, the box windows in the back. And I see the Bigfoot right through the window. He's looking right at me. He knows I'm looking at him. I look at him right there and then before my eyes, I'm looking still at him, and he disappears right before my eyes. I'm sitting there. you begin to wonder if you're crazy or not with something like that, because you just saw it. You saw him, and then he just disappears into thin air. That's a perfect cloak. It is what they do, and what I believe, and what me and my wife talked about and stuff like that, is they have the ability to raise their vibrations. When you raise a vibration, you're actually uh, you're going into another kind of a dimensional realm. Okay, because I mean, if you ever watch, I saw this one Star Trek show. It showed people that they sped up their vibration. It was the show, and they disappeared. It makes sense because you're not going to see them because they're at a whole different other frequency. And our eyes can only see at a certain frequency rate. So when they jump up their vibrations, we can't see them. But a lot of times when they want to get a hold of me, uh, they'll break a twig or something like that. And for one instance, I'll just use as an example of the vibration thing. There were some female Bigfoot, and I was working at a place in Indiana, and they came in front of me. I saw them. They'll show themselves for a second or two or something like that, and then in my mind I'll know they're still there. And what it is if you've ever seen like a frosted glass and somebody's behind it, that's how it looks. But they're vibrating. You can tell because it's blurry, and they jumped up their vibrations and they're doing their thing. And if they want to disappear, then they jump it up some more, and then it's a perfect cloak. They can shimmer.
Right.
That's when they're kind of halfway in and half out. And then when they're halfway in and out, sometimes you see a body part or a leg or an arm. I mean,
I've heard of that.
I was here one night in South Carolina, and I saw the arm walk right by the window. And believe it or not, check this out.
Oh, that must have been fun.
Our cats, they were by the window one day, all of them, and then every one of them, they must have saw Bigfoot. They shot off, and something that they never seen before, and they were scared to death of it. So just a lot of stuff that happens around this area, I guess wherever we live.
There's a question from Jean on the bottom now. I want to direct you. When there are questions, I'll put them on the bottom here if you can read that so that you know that somebody has a question.
Does Pat have an idea on why there are more sightings in the last few years? I think what's happening is Bigfoot are trying to build a bridge to them and us. That's what I think is going on.
I've been getting that too.
Yeah, they want to make themselves known. They're tired of living in the shadows. Just think if you're going out and you've got a cloak all the time, that takes energy. It does.
Well,
and they want to be able to.
People, go ahead. People thinking they're animals,
Well, yeah, they're not.
and maybe going out to shoot them, and it's like, whoa. And we're encroaching on their territory. And I know around here there's so much building up in Paul's area. It's like, all of a sudden the strip malls eating up all the land. There's going to have to be a time when they come forward and we recognize them as people. But of course you do that once you recognize them as people, then they have some rights that will give them some protection. But also, I think they don't want us to do that because um, then
They,
we
they,
might have to give them some land. I mean, it would be like the Native
well,
Americans, you
they don't
know?
recognize, ownership of land and stuff like
Of
that. The
course.
earth is for everyone.
Well,
And
the didn't either. My okay, I'm Native on my mother's side, but they didn't either. I mean, everybody just. I mean, there were sort of territories, but there wasn't like owning of land. That was, you never thought of that.
that's
It was
I'll just
hunting
say,
areas, but and things like that, and territory, but there wasn't like ownership of land was never. I mean, how can you own the earth? It would be what you know.
well, it does happen. I mean, you got people
But
that they buy land and they think they own it, which they
right,
do legally in a court of law. But you
right.
know,
But that's
it's
not the way that the natural people think of
oh
it. Not
yeah,
at all.
yeah.
That is an artificial system that we have here right now, and I don't think it is native to here either. I don't think that way of thinking of things is really native to here. But we're here to hear what you think. And let me see, what questions do we have? Um, yeah, and Jean says, I don't think our government will ever allow that because then they'd have to tell everyone who and what they are, and that will scare many.
Well, the thing is,
No.
if they do that, then they'll have to tell about them. They'll have to tell about the ETs that they have all these treaties with, and
Have to
on
admit they've
down the
lied.
line, and how they've lied through their teeth for the last 50 to 70 years about all this stuff.
How they've
And
lied
they're not
and hurt
willing
people.
they're not willing to do that. What's happened is I
There could be a
believe
lot of
is
lawsuits.
they've turned all this stuff over to corporations, and that's basically what the cabal is. It's just a series of corporations.
Corporation.
So the American people, nobody can go after a corporation, and that's why they did it.
Corporate entities. I sometimes think some of those corporate entities are actually demonic, but we'll talk about that in another show. Or maybe tulpas. I really think there's a reason why they call corporations corporate entities. But you can't kill it, can you? You can't put it on trial. So how can it really be an entity? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we should be asking. Um, as in, well, if it's an entity, then we should be able to do the same stuff to it as we do with people. But how do you do that to a corporation? You should be able to sue them. You should be able to throw them in jail for,
Well, you can, but I'm just saying the
kind
reason
of.
why they turned over the UFO stuff to a corporation is they're untouchable. Nobody can
Yeah.
go ahead and do a Freedom of Information Act on a corporation. There's no way. So it's lock, stock, and barrel. Nobody will find out anything unless it's by accident, like the guy in Australia. He goes ahead and he hacks a computer and he finds out all the space information on the computer and finds out we have a fleet of um, spaceships that are flying around out there. And oops, and the US government tries to, charge him and stuff like that, which is just absolutely ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, they got their hands caught in the proverbial cookie jar.
Well, there's a lot of people who have been hurt by this secrecy. Families have been broken up, people have lost jobs. A lot of horrible things have happened due to the secrecy. And
Yeah,
if
I
they
agree.
would have to answer for that, that would be very bad for some people, and I think they're afraid that people would want blood, and some people would want blood. They
Well,
would not be. happy about what happened to them. I mean, there are a lot of people. I mean, even the missing people that we don't know about. I'm sure somebody knows what happened to the
Well,
missing
there's,
people.
you know, I believe this, like the UFOs, the government's got their own land, and and if for example, somebody's abducted and they do something with the person, they end up dying, they just drop it off in government land, and they'll never ever be seen again. And the
Mm.
government won't have to say a word, and they're not going to. And then that
Yeah,
person's just forgotten.
just
And
do
there'll
it
be
in a
another
national park.
another statistic in the books, somebody missing. And that's how it'll end. Sorry to say.
Yep, and that is just unfortunately from some of the stories that I've heard. Geez, some of these creatures seem to think that it's their hunting ground.
Well, like with all
Uh,
the
the
you
national
got
park.
you have your ghosts, you have your cryptids and stuff like that. I really, we really believe that the universal language is through telepathy, and the ETs
I
communicate
agree.
via telepathy. All of them do it,
Everybody.
and but there's even a something more than that. It's conscious communication, and a
Mhm.
lot of times when I'm talking to, it'll be, see, with telepathy and conscious communication, it's absolutely limitless. I mean, I could talk to somebody in outer space and Mars, Alpha Centauri, that far.
And
That's
it's right away.
how,
It's immediate.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't, there's no thing like, you meditate for 45 minutes or to an hour and try to, get ready and talk. This is just basically seconds.
Right.
And the minute, and with me, the minute I say that name or uh they usually answer. And um the it's more than just talking. You can remote view, you can look at a footprint and
And we
tell who it
do.
is. Um just the just so much more to it than people actually realize. It's not like, it's going to be some, like you'll hear sometimes you do, like you'll hear somebody will be in the neck, like in the same room with you. I've heard that too. Somebody in the be like in the same room with me, but it's in my mind. But sometimes, I mean, it's not going to be like, this awe-inspiring, oh my gosh, like that. I mean, you'll just hear it. I
You'll
mean,
just
there's
kind of
a
notice that you're
you
talking to
you'll
somebody.
you'll know that because, but you'll know
What
because
happens to me is like I'll just sometimes I'll be like realize I'll be there and I'll be thinking, but then I'll realize I must be talking to somebody because I'm answering and I'm hearing, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm talking to somebody. Who am I talking? And it took me a while to realize that it was Sasquatch. It was like, oh my gosh, I must be talking to because then I asked for some proof of that I was really talking to him and they gave it to me.
oh really,
So
that's neat.
they really did. And and I was very shocked. Believe me, I was quite shocked. I had no idea. I had known them all my life. I had seen their structures. I had been around them. They'd thrown pebbles in my path. I didn't know who it was. I had no interest, particularly in Sasquatch. I had a
I,
whole different, thing I was traveling down. And then I heard somebody's story. It sounded very familiar. And I'm like, and I realized, is this being I'm speaking to a Sasquatch? Could I be mind speaking Sasquatch?
See,
And
the thing with telepathy, okay, so I'll use this analogy to explain it. Okay, so you're online, right? And you're talking to Joe Smo. He's talking to you, but you don't see Joe Smo online. You see his name, okay? That's all you
mhm,
know. So, in actual, Joe Smo says he's 65 years old, but in actuality, Joe Smo is a 10-year-old kid. And he's tricked you into believing that he's a 65-year-old man. And that's kind of how it is with telepathy and talking with other beings, because
mhm,
you can get caught up, and there's a lot of impersonators out there, and you got to be careful about what you do and who you talk to.
absolute. People have gotten involved with things that they really shouldn't be getting involved with.
And
And
it's
and if we don't know, because we're not taught how to deal with this, we're not taught about any of this. You end up having to find out on your own, and sometimes you find out the hard way. So, yeah, I was never taught how to mind speak, how to, and what to look out for, and what, I was never, other than my spiritual training, which unfortunately does not really cover the subject that well from a realistic viewpoint. I'm sorry, but a lot of religious training does not really cover it right. And, or they get very heavy handed about it and tell you that everything's evil or something. And so we're not really well prepared for this, but I feel if we were prepared from the very beginning for this, we'd be doing a lot better and we'd
well,
be able to develop our what they call discernment.
the government doesn't want anybody to basically know anything about telepathy because they can't control it. Just think you have people that are talking to each other, and the government they can't record their conversations. They have no idea what they're saying, and the people can coordinate without having the government uh, pry into and see what they're doing. That's why they just don't want that. They want to keep all this stuff quiet. They want to dumb people down. I actually think they put stuff in foods. They've been pouring stuff in foods and stuff like that to dumb people down, to squash abilities and stuff like that. I believe that sincerely, and there that's you just don't see it. I mean, they act like, they're your best buddy or something, and but they're not. And they're actually, they you know groups and stuff and factions that just want to wipe the human race off the face of the earth. And then there's the opposite. There are factions that want to help the human race.
There are, I believe that probably what we are failing to realize is we watch these shows and there's always some people are that look a certain way or act a certain way or bad guys. Some people are good guys. What we've got to realize is it's just like we are. Not everybody who looks like us is going to be a good guy or a bad guy or any
Oh, that's
particular
true.
group
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
individual. So maybe we can have a generalization to a point, but I have heard many stories where big Bigfoot, Sasquatches, northern forest people are friendly, and other ones where they're very not friendly, and somewhere they're extremely standoffish and protective, and somewhere they're a little bit more. None of them are completely forthcoming, but a little bit more so. So, and I think I hear it varies from clan to clan, I hear it varies from region to region. And you know what? That's a lot like us. Why? Because they're a lot like us. They're people too. And so are the
Oh yeah, I
ETs.
agree with
They
that.
have
Yeah.
basic characteristics. I mean, like the tall whites have certain characteristics that all tall whites have. But in that range, I'm sure there is a whole range of behavior, just like we have. They have a range of behavior and ways of expressing things. So I would expect it would be true in every species, probably. I
Well,
mean,
to
just like
change.
you get pets, your pets are different. They have
Well, yeah,
personality.
you can. Yeah, I actually believe they mind speak to each other,
I'm pretty sure.
dogs and stuff like that.
I
But
know
like,
mine do to me a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times.
uh, like for example, like I I actually feel that I'm connected to something, and the only thing I
Mhm.
can really tell you is the universe. And
Mhm.
you can actually go outside your house, and people should do this and realize this, that the earth, you can pull energy actually from the earth into your own
Mhm.
body. And you got to go out barefoot, and you go out, and I just go out, and then I know the energy's coming up into my body. I feel it. And it's just it happens, and you actually can recharge yourself that way.
Um, I think probably I'm looking at chat. So if you see me kind of pause, I'm looking at chat, and if you see me reaching out, I don't know, you can't really see me reaching over, but Cowboy's up here watching the show, by the way,
Who's
with
that?
my cat.
Oh, okay.
Cowboy the Manx is here wanting his belly rubbed, watching the show,
And I've
and
got my dogs in another room. They're just
giving
when
his
they hear a
approval.
blade of grass blowing in the wind, they bark. So
He approves of this whole show right here so far. He agrees with everything. He's purring.
I
So
see with me every I've experienced quite a bit with telepathy and stuff like that. I mean, um for example, um I woke up. Let's see, I'll tell you this one. I was at my daughter's house in um South Carolina, sleeping over there, and I woke up and somebody was talking in my mind. And he goes, my friend, my wife is sick and she needs your help. And that's exactly what I heard. And Robin's a healer, so I contact her, and Uh, she helped his wife get healed. So I'm kind of like
another one of those
a
people you call for that kind of thing.
yeah, secretary, so to
Yeah.
speak. It's all about protocol and stuff like that. With them, it's just some of them can't talk to her, so basically, I'm the in between, so to speak.
I'm another one of those people you call for that and for butt kicking stuff that needs to be kicked out of your place. And although I don't do as much of that as I used to do a lot of kicking of negative stuff and solving of things. But now I really am trying to put the information out so people can help themselves too as well. But of course, everybody needs help at some point, and it's up
Where,
to the shaman. I'm shamanic. It's up to the shaman of this world to help with that kind of thing. I would venture to say Robin is too, in a manner of speaking, shamanic, because this is the way we work. We work in a natural way, not with spells, not with a bunch of artificial, and not the
okay,
artificial
I
stuff.
got a,
This is a
I have
natural.
Bomber said if I
comment.
will
Mhm.
share my first Sasquatch sighting encounter with us, please and thanks. I
Right.
I'll go over the ones I did the ones in Michigan, Bomber.
Right.
Okay, so I'll go over them again. I was in Michigan, and this jet black, um, kind of like a dog like frame on him or her. I think it was a him. He jumped across the entire road with one leap, and I had I had mind spoke with him telepathy afterwards, and his dad uh, didn't want me to talk to him, so I kind of said adios right there. And the second one in Michigan, I drove up to the address to make the stop, the delivery, and then I saw the Bigfoot. He was in the back, and I saw him through the rear window, and both of our eyes met, and then we were looking at each other, and then he just disappeared before my eyes. So I was telling her
Bomber
that I was
replay.
no, I was telling her
No,
that
I'm kidding.
uh that's a perfect cloak.
Hmm.
What they do is they raise their vibrations, and they can ramp it up or ramp it down. And ramp it down, they can have you see them. They can. You just have to they can do that at will. Okay, so when we came to South Carolina, this
I
is
wish
another
I could do that. There's some people I just love to disappear when they show up. But it's like,
um
can you guys show me how to do that stuff, please? I'm looking towards my backwoods back there, which is where they
kind of
show
hard to
up.
do. Um but like the other time we stayed at a hotel. It was um, over in North Charleston. It was like it's a hotel over there, and in the back, we stayed in one of the back rooms back there. We had our dogs. I'd walk the dogs every once at night, you know, and I noticed like in the back, I saw his silhouette. He was tall. It was a hairy silhouette, and then he came. I I looked at it and I said, okay. And then I walked a little farther, and there was must have been another one, or it was him that showed himself, but I
I
saw
think
his
I
face.
dated Harry Silhouette
Yeah.
back in
But
college. Yeah.
but I saw his face glisten in the moonlight. He was pretty tall, and I looked at him, and I don't know why I didn't go up and by the fence and stuff like that. I guess he just didn't want me to do that, or he was projecting that into me to stay away, and they can do that.
Yeah.
And another
And then
time
that.
we were in Branchville, and I was driving, and I saw one go underneath a guardrail. He was in shadow form. He was huge.
Oh,
And now this is the kicker here.
limbo. Ah, Sasquatch
This is the,
limbo.
this is the this is the kicker here. I'm sitting right where I am right now. I'm looking out the window, and okay, I look out the window and I see a see-through Bigfoot. I could see right through him, but you can still see his outline, his appearance, his eyes, his teeth, and he was looking right at me. It was really wild. I mean, I never seen
I
it
could
was
see it,
never
but
seen anything
you
like
could
that
show it.
in my life. Never have I seen it. It was so wild. I said, "Wow,"
I got a picture of I was trying to take a picture of the tree that they left me one of their signs in, which was a huge forked branch wedged in a tree, pointing at a certain area. And basically where I had left something. And but in the tree, one of my friends said, "Well, I see some really Bigfoot shaped shadows in the tree." And sure enough, I looked at it again, and it's like not the Sasquatch themselves, you can't really see, but there are shadows in the trees that look Sasquatch shaped. And I'm
It
like,
probably it
holy
probably
cow.
is a spot. It probably is them. So I'm at my daughter's house again, and I'm just sitting on the couch, and then a shadow comes through by the window, and it was a Bigfoot. And he came by. I asked him, I said, "Well, hello." I go, "Who are you?" And he told me his name, and he said, he just came by to say hello and welcome me to the neighborhood, so to speak.
Oh,
And
that
that's
was
how it
nice of
usually
you.
goes. Yeah, that's how it usually goes. And you just greet and meet, so to speak. I mean, basically, all of them talk via telepathy. Just how it is. It's easier, and that's just how it is. The ETs talk like that too. Ghosts, I've talked to ghosts. They talk like that. I've talked to my dead mother, and I was here one night, and
Yeah.
I heard this. What it was just in my mind. They said kibbutz, and it was a lady that she was Jewish, and she came into the house, and I think my mom bought her in here because she knows I can well, both of us can talk to spirits. And then she brought her in here, and we said she didn't have to go or anything. She didn't feel evil or anything like that. I have felt evil before, and I know Robin has too, and I didn't
Oh
feel
yeah.
any of it. And someone,
Oh
did
yeah.
you know what they were prior, what it was you were seeing, and how did you respond? Okay, the first one was the one that jumped across the road with one lead. Uh, did you know what they were prior? I imagine it was, maybe it was a Bigfoot because of the way it looked. There was no way on earth it it could have. It had claws too, so it's possible it was a Dogman. So a young Dogman, but what was you seeing, and what was you? It was you were seeing. Did you? Okay. How did you react and respond? Usually, I said, I'm sitting there. I go, wow. I'll tell myself, he jumped across the entire road with one leap. Now I knew that was something. I've seen other dogmen. I was on the job. Um, I forgot to mention this. So I'm coming down. Just got done delivering,
Wow.
and I was coming down the road, and I was heading back to the center, and on down, I was coming down, and you could see a dirt road all the way to the end. And there I saw him. It was a dogman. He was standing in the middle of the road. Now, I was going, I said, well, maybe I should turn off. And people have done that so many times and stuff, and they'll turn off and there'll be absolutely nothing there. So I just said, well, I saw him, and um, I just let it be like that. You know, I see a lot of things. I used to work I delivered all over the place. I'd see a lot of things when I out delivering. I go in the woods all the time. And I remember this one time I was driving and I saw off in the distance there was a house. And then all of a sudden something materialized all the way down where I was going. I'm sitting, I go, what the heck was that? And it was like almost like um, a Star Trek beam thing. So they come up and be
No
like,
kidding, like a tractor beam. Robin sent me a picture of something that looked like that.
well, it was like at the top, and it'd be like a line coming down, and that's how it'd be. Then you'd see whoever it was, and then go all the way down to their feet. And that's what I saw. I seen that a couple times. I've seen that here, and I've seen it in Indiana, and it was a Bigfoot that did that. He came down and he just materialized down by the stop sign. I have known, you know, I think a lot of things is that uh, I see a lot of things. Like the other day, I was driving, okay, and I saw 3 Bigfoot running. Now, did I, you know, and the thing is, did I see that in my mind or did I physically see it? I think it was both, but I think more so in my mind. And I just saw 3 of them running, and then I saw it in my mind, and just okay. Here's another one from Bomber. Sorry, what I meant by that first part was, did you know about them prior to your sighting? Did I know about Bigfoot and stuff like that? Yes, I did. But prior to that, I didn't. I was at in Michigan. They talked to me and stuff. I was like asleep, and there'd be uh, a point in time when you're in between sleep and awake. I call it the zone. And what happens is somehow they, they talk to me in that zone, and they come up and I'm in the zone or whatever you want to call it.
The
And
shamanic dream time.
yeah, something like that. Well, anyway,
Yeah,
they
the
come up,
shamanic
said, "Hi,
dream.
Pat." And I heard it. And I was at my dad's house. This is really, really wild. And I was in the zone again. And I didn't know about it back then. I dozed off or whatever. And then I heard the window was open. I heard a howl. He goes, "Woo." And then I heard someone pleading for their life. I'm not kidding. And they took him out, whoever it was, the Dogman. So, I mean, that's the way I see it. I mean, I was there, and that's just basically what happened. Let me see what
They took
else.
him out. You mean you stopped
They took
hearing the
him out.
person
They took
took him
whoever
out?
it was out. They were guarding me.
Ah,
Did you have to research to figure out what you saw afterwards? Uh, research. You know, a lot of times you'll know what happens. Uh, like I was just telling you. I mean, like, okay, for example, I'm at a delivery. This is a true story again. And I don't know how I see it or how I see them. I just do. And Robin does the same thing. I'm driving and I look down in the woods and I see little legs walking. It's like a little person walking away from the truck. I'm not kidding you. It's just like, am I real? You get to the point, am I really seeing this? Really?
Yeah.
Am I really seeing it? You know,
Mm,
is it, I mean, they're cloaked and then they go out of, they go back in the cloak, you know? But,
mm-hmm.
I've often racked my brains about, I was coming down, uh, I went on a little road trip here in the neighborhood up here with Robin and Ryan, our son-in-law, and we were driving up there, and I was in the back seat, and they're out looking at some structures and stuff like that. And I looked over and I saw a little Bigfoot climbing in the trees. Now I agree with Robin. She told me it was basically what I did is I saw through into another dimension, which I agree 100% after viewing it. But anyway, we we I told them about that, and we ventured on. We went down a road, and I saw something zoom across the road. Boom! I mean, you could barely see it. It was so fast, and I told myself, "Wow, what the heck was that?" And it was so fast. It was like a blur, and we we got everybody got out. You could see where it had jumped up on the dirt, and there was dirt all disturbed, and it had to have been a Bigfoot.
Yeah, it had to. Uh, and then you've seen Dogman, and then have you seen any other of the very odd cryptids that people have reported?
Um, I have not seen, and uh, knock on wood, you know, I haven't seen an ET yet. Maybe in my mind and stuff like that, but physically I have not. And I've seen Dogman, I've seen Sasquatch. Um, that's about all I've seen. And I don't know if I want to see anything else, but uh,
Well,
I mean, there's quite a bit of stuff out there. There is, believe it or not. I mean, I-
there's
you
a lot to
know,
see. Yeah,
well, like
I'm pretty sure we have little
you
people around the bog too.
well, no, but I
I'm
think I did see that what I just explained about the little feet. I think I did see a little person, but no, I
Yeah.
have seen. Okay, I was in Michigan. Now check this out. This was so unbelievable to me. I just couldn't believe it. So we're driving, uh, Robin and a friend, and I was I think I was in the back seat. She was in the front. We're just driving around listening to tunes and listening to the radio and playing old songs and having a good time, right? And then drive by the road, and then it appears. It's a female ghost, and it was so the detail was so fantastic. She was totally black. I could see right through her, but I saw her outline and stuff like that. Just absolutely amazing. I didn't say anything. She had no idea I was looking at her, and I didn't want her to know. uh, I always tell my mom, you know, she's dead, but I've told her, I said, please do not come up and wake me up and be there right at my feet. Just don't do it.
Yeah,
Do not do
I
that.
know. I told I think my passed
She
on
said
one
she
is
won't.
no. When I tell him, will you please not startle me because I really don't want to. I don't really want to be startled if you
Man, I
don't
don't want to be
mind.
startled like that. Just wake up. That's like waking
Yeah.
up and seeing, a Bigfoot in front of you. But
Yeah, it's like, could you please be gentle when you know? And actually, it's a funny thing, but usually when somebody shows up in my living room from the other side that's passed on, it's like they just walk through a door or something. It's almost like they just walked through something and got there because a lot of them show up there walking. Some of them are just standing there and all of a sudden they're there.
well,
Um,
we go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh,
Did I
I
interrupt
was
you?
just saying, yeah, I have a lot of, I had to admit at some point I was I can tell you the exact moment I admitted I was a medium. It was in a barn grill when,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I was in a barn grill when I saw somebody bugging this. I was talking to somebody that I knew,
Yeah.
girl that I knew, and this guy was bugging her to speak to him, and she wouldn't talk to him. And I said, "Why aren't you talking to this guy?" And she says, "What guy?" And I said, "This guy right next to you." And she said, "What does he look like?" And I said, "Don't you see him?" And I described him, and she just stopped dead. And no pun intended. She just stopped and she looks at me and she says, "What does he say?" And I told her, and she's like, "Oh my God, I don't like this one bit. I'm an atheist." But that sounds like my friend who died.
Probably
And I
was.
realized she couldn't see him. And I could. And I'm like, he wants to get in touch with you. So, yeah. And really, she had stuff happen. I told her she was going to have stuff happen to prove to her that he was still around and that he was. And she didn't want to believe it, but she kind of had to believe it after a while. So, yeah, but she was like an atheist. She was really fighting it. And that's why he couldn't get through to her. So I really wonder how many of them try but can't get through. And I also think that that's why they show up to people like me, is because I can see them. I mean, you're not going to show up. It's like Ghost Movie, right? You're not going to show up to somebody who can't see and can't hear you. You're not going to
Well,
hang around with them. What
a
fun would
lot of
that be?
a lot of the complaints I get from my mom, and then from her name, I can't remember. I think it was Marcia. A lot of the complaints that I get from spirits is they try to talk to people who's listening, and they can't get anyone. That's just how it is. And when they get through to something, it's like, holy,
They're
holy
excited.
Toledo. Yeah, you
Wow,
know.
I found somebody who can see
Yeah,
me.
exactly. Yeah,
David Bowie, who I knew in life from chat. I knew him on the internet in life, and
yeah.
when he finally got in touch with me from the other side, he was so happy I could see him. He had gone around to actually all of his fans that he could find, and
I
not a
could
lot
hear
of
him.
them could
Yeah.
see him and hear him. So he was thrilled that I could see him and hear him. Yeah.
I think of what
And
a lot of people they hear stuff, but they just don't put two and two together and associate it with anything. I
yeah,
mean, you know what I'm saying?
brainwashing involved. There's a lot of conditioning and brainwashing involved.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Uh,
So
I I was gonna kind of change. Uh, I'm not trying to change the subject. Could I change the
I mean,
subject
you
or?
can change the subject. I don't care.
Okay.
We're here to learn stuff. We're here to be entertained and learn things. If you have something you feel like you want to tell us, please.
Okay. So, like, we live in an absolute paranormal hotspot. We do. I mean, we've woke up. Both of
So
us have
do
woke
I.
up, and we have seen hundreds of octagon shapes on our ceiling and walls, and both of us have seen it. We can't figure it out. What is it? Is it a force field? What? Robin said she's She woke up repeatedly and saw it. I've seen it maybe 4 times already. I woke up and there they are. I have seen she
I
had
grew up in
seen a
a haunted house.
UFO.
I know what you mean.
She has
It was like
seen
Grand Central Station or something.
she's been out front. She's waiting for a friend to show up. They couldn't find our house and there's no lights out front. So she waited out in the car out front to, see if the car would pass by, and she'd honk the horn and, let the people know that this was our house. Well, she was out there and then a UFO appeared above the car. She was in a car. She said once she turned the lights on, it disappeared. It cloaked. I I saw it's like midnight. I came home one time and the sports model showed up above the garage. That thing was just it was awesome looking. There are no rivets on it. It was so smooth. And there's no way, you know, anybody from the US government or anybody uh concocted that or made that. But it I think it didn't speed off, it just disappeared. Just like that. And I cloaked immediately. We our son-in-law, he got a video of a UFO next door. This is like 6:45 at night, almost during the day. And we got film. He has film of it. Um, we've got. You could literally go out in front of the house or in the backyard, and you'll be able to see something in the woods. Take a picture of. Just go out and snap your shot. Come back in, use a little photo editor, and you'll find something most of the time. It's just how it
Yeah.
is.
That's the way it is here too. I live in Ohio. I
Yeah, you
live in
got a
Ohio,
lot of Bigfoot up
one
there.
of the most paranormal states of the Union. We've got perfect land for Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, I
Lots
agree with
of
that.
water, lots of game,
Ohio grassman. Yep.
lots of room for cryptids, lots of area where they can hide, lots of forests and woodlands
Oh
and
yeah.
deep
You wouldn't
ravines
think
and
Ohio,
rivers and
but you're
lakes.
right.
Yeah, Ohio is one of the weirdest. We literally have our own volume of Weird America. I'm not kidding. They had to print a separate volume for Ohio. So I have probably, and I didn't even know, like I said, I didn't think I had encountered Sasquatch until I started hearing about how you encountered Sasquatch. Then it's like, oh my God, that was Sasquatch. The
Oh,
structures, the
oh
sound,
yeah.
the pebbles, the other stuff. And here they showed me when I realized I was mind speaking Sasquatch. And I'm there, am I actually mind speaking Sasquatch? And then they showed me every time they had been around me. They showed me
Oh really?
pictures.
Oh, in your
Yes, they
mind?
had me remember in my mind. They showed me pictures in my head of every time they had been around me. Remember this? Remember that? Remember this time?
Well,
They have known
uh,
me since I was a kid playing in the woods. Since I was a kid playing in the nearby woods,
that's
they
where
have
they saw
known
you,
me.
right? Or that's
Yes,
where you
that when
saw
they
them.
first saw me, they first saw me as a kid. I didn't know about them. I didn't know a thing about them, but they saw
Well,
me.
like,
That's why I always felt safe in the woods, is because they were actually. I would go out in the woods alone once I grew up too. I would go out in the woods alone, and I always felt safe until
I,
there was only a couple of times that I didn't, and then I left. But it's like most of the time I could go out in the woods and I felt very safe, and it was very quiet, and I would wonder sometimes why it was so dang quiet. Well, they were around.
yeah, that's what happens when they're around.
Yeah.
silence. But I
Hmm.
think where my first meeting was, I used to go down to there used to be some people that had a plot of land. There was it was the St. Joe River, and it was a very steep bank, and they had installed some stone steps and all the way down to the riverbank. And that's where I go down there. I go fishing down there. That's where I saw the Bigfoot when I first saw them. They took the memory away from me. It didn't go too well for me because basically later on in my um, teen years, I had a kind of like a shaking. My legs would shake and stuff like that. The only thing I can ascertain from it, and we didn't never found out what the deal was. And what I think it was I saw something that kind of shook me up, and I deeply forgot about it, or something helped me forget about it. And that's my body's way of trying to cope with it. That's the only thing I can think of.
You know, I I had missing time coming home from somewhere. Coming home from somewhere where I had to drive through uh what I would describe as a very haunted area. And after that, and there was missing time, and I could not drive through that area anymore. I would panic if we got near that area.
Oh, really? Yeah,
And
something
for a
must have
long time,
happened.
I couldn't. If somebody was, I would beg them to turn around and go back and to go another way. If I realized I was driving in that direction, I would go another way. And I would know about that area even before I got there, even if I didn't know we were going that way. I'd say, could we go another way? And sure enough, it's like if they would have kept on, they would have gone through that area. I was so afraid of it, and I couldn't. I had this really unreasonable like PTSD over it, and
You know something?
finally,
That
one of my friends drove through there. Somebody drove through there who
yeah.
could see, and they said it was extremely filled with spirits. There
Oh
was stuff
wow.
all over the place. She said it was almost like looking at cut out paper dolls, you know. They were just all over the place. And I'm like, holy cow, what must have happened down there, right? Something must have happened down there that we don't
Well,
know.
something probably scared you,
But
and you probably had
I
PTSD.
and I had seen, and all I remember of that time out of it was I was driving along River Road, which is where the water recycling is, where the water processing is. And it's kind of, if you go on, it's kind of smelly sometimes. But they have, you know, a lit up building sometimes, not in the middle of the night too much though, but I don't see this was what was so confusing about it. I thought I saw a mist up ahead as I was driving.
Oh
I saw a
really?
mist up ahead going across the road. And I thought, well, that's weird. I can't really see through that. And I saw what I thought was lights of the recycling plant. That's up, it was up kind of off the ground, you know. And I thought, well, it must be part of the recycling plant or something. And then I didn't really want to, but I thought, well, I'll just get through that and then I'll be able to, because I wanted to get home. And then, um, yeah, and then I found myself driving home from, it seemed like another area. And I had stopped looking. I had gone out to see yeah, that's right. I had gone out to see the sunset, which never occurs much later than 9 o'clock. And or so, and
Yeah.
And I got home, it was like 1:30, and my husband wanted to know what the heck was going on. My then husband, my ex now, but wanted to know what the heck was going on. Where were you? What were you doing? And I couldn't tell him. That's all I remembered. And then from then on, I was terrified of that area. I don't know what happened to me in that fog. I saw the thing with the bright lights, which now, as I think about it, that wasn't a building. That was not a building. It was up off the freaking ground. I was thinking it was maybe up on some kind of legs or stilts or something, but it wasn't. It was up off the ground and it was lit up. And that's all I remember. And it was vaguely sort of round, oval, you know. The more I think of it, it kind of comes in and out that was a ship of some kind. That
Hmm.
was not anything to do with with the water recycling plant. That had nothing to do with it.
Oh, somebody asked me about if I think you did, didn't you? Ask me if I've seen other endings or something like that.
Other
What?
things, yeah. What other
Yeah,
things have you
yeah.
seen?
I have. We have. Um, it just he he's his name is Job. Okay, and Job. Um, we met. I met Job. Uh, I was in a car and I was heading to Walmart one day, and I heard him in the back seat. He he sounded like this. He goes Job like that, and I asked, and of course I was, if I suspected somebody, and go ahead telepathically, and I'll say, "Who is it?" And it was Job. He says his name was Job, and um, he had something chasing him. And I got home and I told Robin, and we told Job he could stay in the house, and as long as he wanted. And then when the heat was off, he could go back home. So, um, so me and Robin were in the car one day. This is really, really weird. So Job is on the dashboard. Job goes from the dashboard in between both of us, in the middle of the car, you got that armrest. You could
Mm-hmm.
see him. He goes in the back and he starts throwing boxes up and they're moving. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, let's see.
James Ortiz made it in. Hi, James. And by the way, hello everybody who came in. Circle K and Bomber and everybody who came in. Lisa Lou and um, everybody who came in. So we have more people kind of coming in while
Uh,
while we go on here.
well, like I was explaining about Job, um, he he basically we went to the Nebraska Bigfoot conference, and he uh, he followed us there and basement. And that's the first time I've heard him vocalize like out loud. And um, actually, I was out in my living room. I dozed off, and I'm talking about the zone again. And I felt myself floating, believe it or not. And I fell asleep, and I woke up on a ship, and Job was there. Job, he's kind of like a little monkey, and he's got like a thing on the top, like a flower type thing on the top of his head, and he's got bulbs on the ends of his fingers. And Job jumped at me, and then the minute he did that, I woke up. So, um,
Okay, now let me be clear. When you first saw him, did he look like a person or something else?
No, that's Job. Job is Robin's seen him too. And that's how Job looks like. I can't
So
I
he
think he's
looks like he has a bulb on the back of his head,
on the top of his head.
on the top of
And
his
he's
head,
got bulbs on the ends of his fingers.
and bulbs. And you mean by that, by some kind of a swelling, some kind of a
Like a
larger
round
round,
thing on the ends of his fingers.
right? And
That's what I
on the top
saw.
of his head. Hmm,
And then the little
interesting.
arrangement on the top of his head. I think he's yellow.
Kind of yellow. And then what kind of eyes does he have?
Regular eyes, like a monkey, or it's got the whites and stuff like that.
So kind of monkey-like.
Yeah, he looks
And
monkey, except he's
yeah.
yellow. Uh, there's another. Um, this one's a weird one, and I both of us scratch our heads on this one, and me, I scratched my head a lot on this one. So we keep kind of some animals out in the garage, and occasionally. Did Joe throw stuff at Duke and Christy? I have no idea. Um, Occasionally I'll go out and I'll power wash the floor of the garage, clean it out, and, uh, so forth and so on. So one day I'm out there and I'm power washing, and I'm at the farthest corner of the garage, and I turn around, and there it is. I see it. It's an action. It's like a walking box. It was yellow, and I seen it, and it's undulating, or whatever you want to call it, moving toward our dryer. And you know, normally if I wasn't into this stuff at all, I'd probably be in the doctor's office.
Right.
But
Wondering what the
I
heck.
knew, yeah,
You'd be
I
Gladys
knew,
Kravitz, right? That
yeah, Gladys
crazy
Kravitz.
neighborhood.
You're right.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
I knew that it's something that was paranormal. Well, anyway, it was yellow. It was kind of a box like thing, and it was undulating, or kind of walking, or walking its way, however a walking box, a living box would walk. That's what it did. Okay, it went
Oh,
behind.
gee, so like a cartoon almost.
Not really. I mean, it was. It's really hard to describe. I mean, just like it was undulating and kind of moving itself toward the dryer. It was moving fast. I think it was basically putting some. It was doing something to me, because I can't believe I didn't get on it that quick, because uh, the more I think about it, it's like it just like sped up so fast that there was no way um I could, you know, there was a way I could, traverse the distance to it, normally, but I don't think this was normal. So what happened was it went behind the dryer, and I took the uh, power washer, and I blasted that thing. I blasted where it went, all behind, on the sides. I moved the dryer. It was gone. And I have no idea. The only thing we can think, and I told Robin about it, was it was a probe. Sorry, but that's exactly what we believe was. The only
Something that was
explanation.
checking out the place.
Yeah, probe. Hmm.
Yeah.
And then,
Well, different people have different meanings for that word because there are all kinds of meanings for that. But we're trying to get a little bit more. So, did it go when it came to your dryer? Did it disappear? Did it disappear behind? Did it disappear into the dryer, or did it just
no,
disappear?
went on the side by the door, went there, and I went over there and I looked. I didn't see it, so I blasted it with water.
Just
And
in
if it
case.
was, yeah, if it was
Hmm.
there, I would have blasted out. If it was, let's say, for example, if it was a bat, sometimes they look like that, but there's no way. And this is this one that I just we can't really figure out what it was. And this is what happens with most of this stuff is you're left dangling and you just don't know what to think. So your mind goes wild and you come
And
up
if
with the
you
best
also
plausible.
and if
Uh,
you also can't tell anybody, after a while, you just shut it off, put it aside,
well, yeah,
catalog
you
it,
put it
that
in,
kind of.
yeah, but
Hello, Black Dragon, by the way. Nice to see you.
it it
Black
helps.
Dragon just came in.
It helps to talk about this stuff. It does. I mean, for the longest time, I didn't say anything to anyone. I
Right.
mean,
Who are you going to
uh,
be able to talk to? My dad could
nobody.
only talk about it when he'd get himself a certain shade of drunk. He would then talk about it, but he wouldn't talk about it any other. I've run into
But
that with other people too. They'll get themselves a little tipsy or something finally, or actually, then they'll tell you this stuff. They
oh,
won't tell
really?
you when they're sober. I've run into that. Yeah. Well,
Well, I'm
I'm a
sober.
performer. I
Maybe I
play
should.
music.
Maybe I should become a drunk. I mean, maybe it'd be better. But
No, no,
uh,
I don't recommend it.
I'm sober on this, and I'm. I mean, I
I
think
don't
I've
recommend it. But that
kind
then
of
they'll tell.
weathered the storm here a little bit,
Mhm. My dad,
and
he served. He was I think a lot happened to him. He had PTSD. I think a lot happened to him. He was old enough to be in World War II. He was in Panama at the time, working on the locks. He saw a lot of stuff, weird stuff in Panama that really freaked him out. Okay, so he was
that
not in any way a normal person either. He was also gifted. That's where part of what I got comes from, I think.
that's
With
possible.
his
That's more
gifts
than possible.
well, the
I think.
prophetic dreams and stuff. He had the prophetic dreams. He had
Oh,
healing
really?
abilities. Yeah, he had healing abilities. He had well, he was Masonic, but he wasn't a bad guy. I mean, he told me, he said, be careful of the dark masons. You don't want to be anywhere near them.
Yeah,
You
I've
don't want
heard about
anything to
them.
do with them. But
I
he
think.
was not a bad guy. But and I've known other masons. They're not bad. They're not. It, once again, it's a fraternity. They are in it for different reasons. They're different people, but there are subgroups within there, as far as I can tell, that you have to be careful of. Yeah, it's like every other. Once again, it's like every other group. They're not all good. They're not all bad. They're not all anything. Except they've got
Well,
this one interest. They've got
talking
a common
about
interest.
PTSD, I remember I told you about the shaking or the trembling I had when I was a kid, teenager. I think that
Mm-hmm.
was PTSD. Now that, I just think about it and we're talking about that and stuff. And it was either, PTSD about, seeing Bigfoots or ETs or something. And I just blocked it out. So, or they blocked it out for me. I think that's what the Bigfoot said. They, I didn't handle it too well, and uh,
Well,
they
whatever I
they
saw
block your
down in
eye.
the valley, I didn't handle it well either for a long time. It screwed me up for a long time.
Oh, really?
I yeah, it screwed me up for a long time. I couldn't go through there. I don't know if I could go through there. Maybe I could now, but
Oh yeah,
probably not
that
at
the
night.
part, the land that you were scared of.
But probably not at night. I wouldn't want to try doing it at night. I don't think I could do it.
See,
I
the
would
thing
hurt
is, like
myself.
right around here, I'm not scared at all. I mean, I'll go out to the mailbox. I'll go out in the dark, go out but I'm not going to be foolish and go out in the woods and get bit by a poisonous snake or anything like that.
Some
Which
stupid
there are
thing.
quite a few up here.
You don't want to
But
be stupid for Pete's
oh
sakes.
yeah, I
No.
know. But I'm not. I've been in the bedroom and I've seen, and I think it was a Bigfoot. As you look under the door, and you gotta have a light out in the other room, you can actually see somebody walk away from the door. And I did see that at one time. Now I'm gonna explain something to you, and this is kind of weird. Okay, so it's 5 a.m. in the morning, and I'm up, but then I get tired again, and I go back to sleep. I remember looking at the clock. So I doze off again, and I must have woke up without myself inside me. Now, how do you do that? But anyway, I'll explain that in a minute. So
Well,
I'm
yeah, I understand what you mean, but
I
yeah, just
am
explain for
I'm
people.
I am basically in bed, and then I think I'm seeing this all in my mind. Okay, there's somebody carrying me to my bed. And then they put me down. And what they do is they put me down and then they kissed me on the cheek. I felt it. And when I woke, the minute they put me down, I woke up. I took a deep breath. I go like that. And I woke up and I was up. I looked around. There's nothing around me. Now, I've had other instances where my whole body was vibrating before I woke up. I'm sitting there. It was kind of, it was almost, I almost panicked. Almost did, but I didn't. And then it was vibrating a lot. And then it just calmed down. And I woke up. There I was. So those are probably two instances of out of body experiences that I've had. I have been in outer space. I woke up one night
Mhm. Mhm.
and I woke up and just flipping amazing. I was in space and just seeing a second or two of where I was. And they told me where I was, the foots. I was in an Oort cloud in the Kuiper Belt. Unbelievable. Just, it was just breathtaking. That's all I got to say. Just to see a second of it was breathtaking. Just incredible. Wow, I couldn't believe it. I still think about it. It was just, it was better than, it was probably 5 million K. You know what I'm saying? Vision. It was that crystal clear. Just
Yeah,
unbelievable. I mean,
yeah.
wow. I still think about it to this day.
A weird thing happened to me, and well, I've been out in the universe a few times, more than a few times when I've remote viewed. And I think I have also, well, I know I can bilocate. I mean, I've found that out when the person screamed and said, "What are you doing next to me when I'm talking to you on the phone?" So I was handling some stuff for her. I was handling a mass crossing over and poltergeist problem. And she saw me standing beside her working on this, and
That's
I was on the phone.
that's
But
astral projection.
yep. And um, but one time I remember I was listening to the different sounds of the planet. Somebody was playing that, and I
Oh,
was
like
in
the
a chat
frequencies
room.
and stuff.
Right. And all of a sudden there was this frequency of Nep was it Neptune or was it Pluto? I was trying to remember. And all of a sudden I'm looking at this great big round thing with a sky, a backdrop of stars, and it's dark and it's kind of misty and it's greenish gray. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, what in the heck am I looking at? And then I thought to myself, am I looking at the planet that that frequency goes to?
That's possible.
And I'm like, maybe it somehow put me in the orbit of that planet as wherever it was when it went by. And I'm thinking, wow, because I know frequency, everything's just frequency. I mean, there is actually no matter. Uh, Everything is really energy, vibrating points of light.
Vibration and energy.
That's really all it is. And so I was wondering if somehow that just kind of sucked me right into the orbit of the planet,
That's,
and I'm
like the vibration is really just actually, what we call frequency. And, you got your different frequencies. Our son in Indiana, he'll listen to, you got these frequencies on YouTube, like relaxation frequencies, or, he'll listen to those every once in a while. But
oh, I listen to those a lot because they're so cool. I've gotten a lot of people listening to those frequencies because I'm one of the people, and it wasn't just the right frequencies, but the solfeggios and everything, the subliminals. Because I'm one of the people that really did a lot of intention work to get Royal Rife's work back before the public again, the Rife frequencies and stuff, and the solfeggios. So I did a lot of work and I did a lot of like PR for that to get people to be aware of that so that could come forward again. It's very good technology. I mean, I've had people, there are times when stuff has been like invading my space and I put on, as a matter of fact, Dr. Virtual was one of the ones that would come up with very specific, very specific ones, things that you could play and that would get rid of certain things. And somehow you would play that frequency for a while and it would dissipate it. So yeah, there were several things. There was one that I recommended people, like 9 hours of getting, clearing your place, basically, when they were having problems, and it
yeah,
works. It's like vibration is, and frequency is what we like. Uh, uh, you know, the reason you
uh,
can see it, I mean, I can see them is because we're matching a frequency. I mean, some people can't see them because the frequency doesn't match.
well, change a little note here. Uh, this is something that I think everybody could possibly do and maybe relate to. Okay, for example, when I first met Robin, she was looking at a book, and she looked at it, and it was a building, and she goes, "Do you hear that?" I go, "Yeah, it's like screaming." And she said there was a fire there one time there, and this is before I met Robin and stuff like that. I started toying with the idea and stuff like that. I don't know why, I really don't, but that in a picture there is energy in that picture. Okay, and then as with what I just explained about, the fire and the hotel, and you basically, like, I can look at a picture of a Bigfoot, which I didn't done before. I've done this twice for the same individual, and I've looked at the picture, and I was in Nebraska, and I looked at it, and it was immediate. I started talking to that Bigfoot, and it was just uh, pretty wild that there's energy in a picture. I mean, there's literally energy in the picture, a remnant of energy that you yourself can access. Have you ever tried that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, um, there's been, wow, all kinds of things from pictures. There was one picture, though, that I think freaked me out more than any other picture. And it was somebody who had gotten really good at photographing these things. But she had to have, if she was photographing something in a place, she would make it completely dark and then point her phone camera at it and photograph it.
Mm-hmm.
And the photograph she sent me was a still photograph.
Okay.
But if you sat, she said, just keep watching it for a few minutes. As you would look at it, you would see slowly out of the darkness would come a darker darkness, and then it would coalesce into some kind of a being.
Oh, really?
And yeah,
It's kind of
a
the
kind
ones
of an
that.
odd looking being. And then it looked at the camera or at you. It looked like it was looking at you, but it was looking at the camera, looked surprised, like, oh my God, they can see me, that kind of look, and then darts off to the side. And this is all in pitch black, and it was a still photo.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
I was just like, whoa. Do you have more photos? Yes. Could you send me some more photos like this? Well, yes, if I could figure out how to
Well,
do it. I'm trying to figure out how to save them. And I'm like, well, please try to figure out how, but she never did figure out how to send them to me. But I guess she showed me some more on her phone, but she couldn't figure out somehow how to get them out of her phone and over to me. And I lost track of her. She was having a lot of hard times. And I expect maybe because things found out she could see him. Who knows what
what?
could be
Well,
happening to
that
her? But
that will happen because uh, a lot of you gotta, and as I explained about telepathy and then talking to the wrong thing, you actually, if you basically, like horror movies, and I figured this out, and Robin has too, all that stuff, the horror movies, and I was watching a thing on the Skinwalker Ranch one day, and my goodness, something was actually uh kind of, I was seeing something in my mind. I turned it off because that stuff, that and a lot of the horror flicks and stuff, it just draws in this negative stuff. It does. And the same thing with looking at a negative picture or something like that. I mean, a lot of times you'll never get rid of it. And like, for example, I was asleep one night. I woke up and I'm in my little zone there. And I'm, I guess I'm dreaming, and I see a cloud in the distance. And as I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it, and I kind of figured I knew what it was. But anyway, I woke up, and then whatever it was chiming in my head and stuff like that, wouldn't leave me alone. And it was a dark entity, dark entities,
mm-hmm,
because there's more than one.
mm-hmm.
So I asked, and people can do this, asked, Archangel Michael to give you a hand,
Mhm.
and he did. You got rid of him. I never heard from him again.
Mhm.
But people, you can have the Archangel Michael help you if you just
You
ask.
can, a lot of us don't realize that we have a fleet of angels, just a whole. Some of us have battalions of angels we've never even sent out on a mission, but I send mine out all the time. I keep mine very busy, thank you. Angels are actually pretty much programmed to serve, and they have been told to serve us. So that's what they do. They you can ask the angels to help you. You can ask the ascended masters. You can ask your favorite religious figure. You can ask, and it a lot of it has to do with what you believe in, what you can put your faith in, and what you're comfortable with. But all of the good beings have a few simple things in common. One is they don't want to be worshiped. They want to be on level ground with you. They want you to not, be awestruck and worship them. Um, that's one. And they will never ask you to do anything harmful or to yourself or others. And they won't, a lot of things cannot act unless you give your permission and tell them that they
Yeah, that's
can't.
their free will, that type of thing. I agree
Yes.
with you 100%.
You have to respect your free will.
Mm-hmm.
So but you can ask for help. And if you ask for help, they will act. So, yeah, do not hesitate. Do not
Yeah,
hesitate.
I agree 100%.
Cannabis resolution is in. Hello, bro. How you doing? That's Naysay. How you doing? Saw something in the dark. It was more darkness, a way lot of darkness. Well, see, that's the thing. This was a darker dark. I don't know how to describe this thing. I don't know how to describe this thing, but it was this thing. It had something to do with burning down her building that she lived in, whatever this thing was. So I don't know what this was. I don't know what became of her. I don't think it was good. I know she was homeless for a while. So living with a friend. So I don't think it wasn't anything good. I knew that. Um, oh, and Cannabis says angles. Do you utilize or angles, not angels? Well, if you look into it, you know that they may be the same thing. Um, what? Let me see. The oh, Circle K says I still have a ghost dog. I saw him last night. I thought it was a German Shepherd, but he's white. Maybe it's an old wolf named Star. He did love me. It could very well be. And Black Dragon says energy can use photos like portals. They are not restricted by time or space. Um, uh,
I've thought of that, and I even tried to do that. And like, I would look at a photo and I would actually try to will myself into that particular uh, space or space and time on the photograph itself. I mean, I could do it mentally, but of course not physically, like you go through a portal and stuff like that. But I did have a feel for the, you know, area that I was looking at. I mean, I can look at a I looked at a photo of this one lady. This is really wild. And I read her, and I kind of, when I looked at the photograph, I looked at her, and I basically saw everything about her. And then I described everything to her. She wanted people to do it. It was in a telepathy group on Facebook, and then I explained it and how she was. She said I had it 100% right how she was, and it's just basically, looking at the photograph and then getting a mental image of how that person is, and that's accessing, I guess energy or whatever you want to call it from that photograph.
Yeah. That sort of reminds me of psychometry, where you can pick up an object and pick up on where it's been and what's happened to it and what's happened around it, who owned it.
Yeah,
That
kind
thing.
of.
Yeah.
I never heard of that, but
Called psychometry.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's pretty well known among like spiritualists, for instance. I went to
There were some. I saw a question pop up. I just didn't know what it said.
Oh, it was just if you have any questions, please put them in.
Okay. Any more
So we
questions?
we would be able to see them as opposed to just chatting to each other.
Oh, okay.
Cannabis Resolution, who is really naysay, hiding out in the name Cannabis Resolution. No. It says radionics. We have to tease naysay because he is a funny person. And he has a sense of humor, so we must tease him now, or he will feel neglected. So okay. Yes, and the reason Naysay said is because he sees more darkness is because he is blind. So yeah, Naysay is blind. But he still watches the show somehow.
I'd like to explain something that
he doesn't see it, maybe, but he watches it.
I'd like to explain something about what my one son saw. He would talk to Dogman. He did, and the Dogman told him something that is kind of strange in a way. And they told him that basically, if you look at night and you look at the shadows, and he said, quite frankly, the shadows are getting darker as time goes by. So each and every year or night or whatever, the Dogman told him, says the shadows will get darker and darker and darker and darker. And they told him, they said, in the future, some age or some time, that there's going to be a great evil that takes over the earth. And that's what they told him. And that's what he told me. I believe him that they did say that to him. So
I don't believe it's going to happen, but I believe they said it to him.
Well, it's interesting
that's what's going to happen.
See the darkness in the shadows. You go out and you can go outside, and then the shadows get darker. It's kind of disconcerting and kind of weird, and kind of scary in a way. You know what I'm saying?
Well, then there's another effect that can happen, that if you're in somewhere that's very dark, you can also start to get the impression that there are still things around you. And if you are sensitive, you will notice that there are still things there that you can't really see. With your
you can feel them. Bigfoot, I asked the Bigfoot one time, I said, well, hey, how do I know it's you? And he told me, he says, yeah, he said, you have to feel it.
Energy signature, that's what That's what I was told too,
And you have to
is that we
feel.
have to be able to tell the energy, to know the energy signatures,
Hmm. Yeah.
because it's the only way to be
It,
sure of who you're talking to.
yeah,
You have to be able to
exactly.
feel it. Yes. Because they
Okay.
can fake everything else, but they cannot fake an energy
You're
signature.
you're exactly right.
Hmm. And that is true. They cannot fake an energy signature. You can tell if it doesn't feel
So
right.
That's what Robin tells me all the time. You can't fake energy. You just can't. They can't do it.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, not if you could fit. So one of the most valuable things in this field that you can do for yourself is learn to read that energy, is learn
Hmm.
to be able to, and that's called
Exactly.
discernment as well. Discernment is what it was called anciently. So, and that's something, because see, I had a religious upbringing, and they would talk about discerning spirits, discerning of the spirits, and so on. They would talk about that, but yeah, that's one of the main things you really got to have, because there's a lot of things that have led people far astray, and um, maybe the people were not bad people, but they were listening to the wrong dang thing, and it's very easy for them, because we are not we we have been brainwashed. We've been programmed not to even acknowledge our gifts most of the time, or acknowledge that there is anything.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
we're not taught how to deal with any of this. We're not told how to deal with
Well,
it. We
they don't want you to know. That's why they don't
Right,
teach you anything.
right,
They talk about, and I think for example, when you go out and the government, they actively have a program where they want you to believe that everything is false. So
right.
when a person goes out in the woods or they see something on Facebook or something, what immediately pops in your mind? And the first thing that pops in everyone's mind, is it a hoax? And I guarantee you that's the first thing that comes to someone's mind. And that's the government.
Hmm. Well, they've done everything to trick us, and then they wonder why we don't trust them anymore. Gee, you've done everything to trick us and stab us in the back. I wonder why we don't trust you. You ruined people's lives, literally ruined their lives. You've literally killed people. Why should we trust you? Is there a reason we should really trust you? It's like, I'm sorry, but people have literally had their lives ruined. They've had, I could go on. I'm not going to, but we all know what kind of things have happened in the name of keeping secrecy. To what? Protect the public? No, you're not protecting anybody with that kind of stuff. Okay. That is not protecting the public. To protect national security, we've got national insecurity right now. I think everybody's feeling pretty insecure right now. I mean, we tease about it. Are you getting social security? No, I'm getting social insecurity. Everything, every news story, every time a news story comes up, it's like makes you feel a little less secure, right? So, I don't know. So, some of these things just, I get upset with it. I shouldn't get upset. Sometimes I get a little emotional, but obviously there's the reason I said they don't want you to know about these things, because they're so heavily invested now. They're up to their eyeballs,
Well,
and people
when
would.
you get close to the truth, that's when things start uh, kind
Yep,
of
that's how
happening.
you know you've hit a nerve, is they
Yeah.
start going off, right? Hit a nerve. Um, and seriously, um, I look at it. I've been through it. Through the gang stalking and all kinds of things. I still I know that not everybody gets a message that this channel is even really on. I know I've been shadow banned here and there on some channels. I know they can't see me, although I'll see them on other channels, and I know that it wasn't the person's fault whose channel it was. I know they didn't do it. I've had things in regular life too. A lot of things like my mail not making it to me,
Or
not
email and stuff like that. Yeah,
emails,
mail
phone
being
calls.
delivered to the
Don't
wrong
get my
place
phone
or
number.
not showing up.
All kinds of things. I've had all kinds of things through the years.
But
I've
the
had
thing is
death threats and God knows what all. I've had
if
everything. I've had it all.
if they can get computer control, which they do, and if there's anything that deals with computer control and they could hack into, then that's how they do it. For example, if you're, let's say you're applying for a loan or something like that, and the government wants to be a bunch of idiots, they'll hack into the program at that bank and they'll screw it up for you. They can do just about anything, hack
I've
into
had
anything.
that happen. I've had my bank
I believe
accounts.
that.
I've had a lot of things happen. And
What's he, a shadow master?
I'm a
What do
shadow
you say?
band master.
Shadow bandmaster. What's that?
Uh, I think he's been shadow banned a lot.
Oh, okay. Banned from something.
Yeah, probably been banned from a few places. And it's odd because some of the places that I've been banned from, I know doggone well they'd rather talk to me, that they have nothing against me, that the person themselves did not do that. So, and neither did their mods. They would have no reason to possibly do that. So it's kind of weird. And if you know of anybody who's been shadow banned or who's been banned from my chats that thinks they've been banned, I haven't really banned hardly anybody from here. I haven't in a long time. For a while, we had trolls, and I had to ban them because, you have to. But we, we haven't had much lately. Fortunately, I guess I got tired of it. They got tired of it. But basically, we we've had we went through a period when we were a new channel that we just had all kinds of things going on for a while, and it was very trying. I mean, it was like they were coming in mass. Some of these bots and things. So we had to deal with that, and they still show up in the comments where they'll leave like 3 or 4 comments, and you'll look at your new comments, and it's all a bunch of porn bots or something.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah, it's really annoying. And so if you're running a channel, you have to stay on it. And by the way, mods, if you look back on my old programs and you see any of that crap, will you please tell me so I can get rid of it, or if you can get rid of it. I think the mods might be able to get rid of it. But if you can, get rid of it. If not, let me know so I can go back and get rid of it, because we can't have that stuff on the site. It's just bad.
Are
They
there
can
any? Just asking if there's any questions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, I was right. He's been shadow banned by a lot of apps. Okay, that's
Oh,
what he meant.
okay.
Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. So, are there any more questions, people? The man has been answering oh, you know what? You've been at this for 2 hours, honey. That is, you've been doing really good here. I mean, and it's been interesting for 2 whole hours. So I understand if you have somewhere to go or if you're tired, but if not, you can stay and talk a little longer. If I certainly have some questions. I mean, like you have talked
Go
about
ahead.
Dogman, you have talked about Sasquatch, you have talked about some kind of a little being that may be an
Joe.
alien called Job.
Joe.
You have talked about the spirits that you, some of the spiritual stuff you have encountered. And I was just wondering, um, what advice would you give to people who are still questioning this, who want to find out for themselves more, who want to maybe experience this to know that it's real? Because I know a lot of people, they don't believe it unless they can experience it, and sometimes not even then. But it can be kind of dangerous. So, could you give us advice if you're somebody who's starting on this line of investigation or inquiry?
Um, well, like,
Okay, hang on. You know what, Naysay? I think I still have your number somewhere, but if not, I'm oceandiana@gmail. Okay. Um, that's my email. So if anybody has a guest suggestion, I need guests on the show. I'm looking for guests. Usually Wednesday's a good day to do that, but it can be a Sunday or a Monday. So let me know which day works better for you. It's going to be at 8:30 Eastern. So let me know which day works better for you and we'll get you on the schedule. Okay? That's how I would answer that. Um, okay. So what were you saying now? You advice.
um, I would, I got into this stuff, and a lot of the stuff I didn't ask for. I didn't ask to be put in some of the situations that I was in. I mean, you can do uh, what when you get into this stuff, and let's say you get into telepathy, or you just you've got to learn to read energy. I mean, there's no other ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, when even the best of us, and there's no experts in this stuff, and that's what you got to realize, that there are no experts in this stuff at all. I mean, we're not given an instruction manual or a how-to book on how to do any of this stuff.
In
You
fact, we're
learn it.
programmed the other way.
Yeah, you learn the stuff as you go, like telepathy and stuff like that. I mean, I haven't gone to, I've gone to some of the telepathy groups and Facebook. I don't do much. I mean, I just look at it. Um, and I just, with the telepathy and all this other stuff, abilities, and if you have them, I mean, don't sit here and take a class, or, pay $80 to somebody that uh, is supposedly going to teach you all this stuff, and they're not going to, because there's no experts in this stuff. You've got to let all this stuff happen naturally. I mean, if you have abilities, just kind of live your life, and if a new one comes, or you can do something, the universe, whoever is alerting to that ability, will alert you, and you will have learned it. Because I've had situations where, for example, I was sitting down one day and I said, well, most the uh, I said, well, it'd be funny if I looked at a Sasquatch footprint, and I could tell who it was. I could see them walking, and you could remote view them and stuff like that. And when I first started this whole thing, I had a instance where there was a movie on Gaia, and it was called Interstellar, and they took pictures of motherships in deep space. I said to myself, well, I froze the TV picture and I concentrated on one of the motherships, and I was traveling through space. I saw it in my mind, and I went to the mothership and contacted two people, an ET and a human with a beard, white hair. But you've got to be able to discern who you're talking to, and it doesn't happen. And the thing is we live in a society that wants things now. God, I want this, I want it now. I want my hamburger and I want to eat it too.
I want
And
it all, and I want
yeah,
it now.
I want. Well, you can't be that way like this. It's you've got to be humble in all this stuff that you do. You just can't sit and say to yourself that I'm the greatest there ever was and will ever be at this stuff. And you're gonna hurt yourself in the long run, because there are no experts in this, and then you'll be falling flat on your face. And
What was
you've got
that?
to.
Was that a bird?
Yeah, that was Nico, our bird. Yeah.
Hey, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
The birdie
He
baby
always,
wanted to say a few words. Huh?
he always says Nico's a good boy. He says that. There he goes again.
How
He's
you
hitting his
doing,
head.
Nico?
He's hitting his head. I don't know why he does that. I think he may need some food.
Nico, are we taking your daddy away for too long? Is he too busy? And then he's not paying attention to Nico. I know that's
I'll
Cowboy
have to
is
check
right
his food
next to
after I get
me.
off.
He's right next to me getting his belly rubbed, so he's okay. We're not hearing from him now because he's getting his belly rubbed. So Cowboy is fine. He's just kind of laying here waiting for me to reach over and rub his
But
belly every now and then.
that's the key is basically uh, you've got to kind of learn to read energy, and if you got telepathy, you've got to that in turn is reading energy who you're talking to. But one thing I think that you must realize when you get into this stuff, that there are two things that you have to realize. There are no experts, and you can't you can't be egotistical about it.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, I don't want to be an expert anyway because an X is and has been, and a spurt is a drip under pressure.
The birdie is a cockatiel.
I love cockatiels and cockatoos. Nico sounds like an old man giggling, says Barry Kustach.
Oh,
Barry Kustachin, he's a character himself. He loves animals. He's one of the, and particularly his doggies. He's got some sweet puppies. Had some sweet puppies in his life. I am right now a proud cat mommy of Cowboy, the cow-spotted Manx kitty with no tail. So, and you can see his videos on this channel too. He has a lot of videos on this channel, so you can get to know Cowboy a little bit. But most of you who have seen the videos know he is very purry. So, so you are also a bird daddy.
Wondering if there's any more questions.
Yeah, that she's talking about the birdie, I think. Anybody have questions? because he's been on for over 2 hours now. So unless you have some questions, he's probably got to go feed his birdie.
Yeah, I've got to
Birdie's getting lonely for love and
feed
attention.
Nico. If there
So
isn't any more questions, then I probably gotta head on out.
for now, I'd say we've covered it. We'll probably have you on again if you'd like to. The crowd
Yeah,
seems to
sure.
love you,
Just let me
just like
know.
they love Robin, and you're like part of the family now, dude. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Just let me know when you
Okay.
want me on. All right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll have you back, and we'll talk again. And thank you so much for coming to my show. And thank you, everybody who was here and who asked questions and came to visit. And like if you missed something, you remember you can replay it. We're going to have guests on from time to time. Please get in touch with me at oceandiana@gmail if you know of somebody that should be on. Here is, wait a minute. Here's my PayPal me, but the thing is, it's still my my Gmail is the same as that, oceandiana@gmail. So, and
Okay.
if you want to PayPal me, there's my PayPal. So, if you want to, because it does cost something to do all of this. Anyway, we we do love you. We're like a wonderful big weird family, and I think we've got a new addition to the family is Robin and her and Pat here. I think they've I think they've accepted you into the Woo family here. So
That's very good.
okay,
Thank
love
you.
you guys, and thank you so much for coming. And I'll keep some Wednesdays open for you guys. And
Okay.
for you guys out there that have been watching, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your questions and attention. And remember that you are divine, you are creators, create wisely, dream well, and be conscious of what you're thinking and what you're putting in because, garbage in, garbage out. If you're putting garbage in, you're going to get garbage out too. So right now, we're right now even more important than it ever was. So and the truth is where you find it. I hope you're finding some on my channel. So next time, uh, I don't know who we're going to have next time or if it's just going to be me. But Bigfoot Michigan Rob is live now. Okay, well there you go. You can go over there now. Okay, so everybody, thanks so much. See you next time on The Ocean's Deep Blue. And thank you.
Thank you for having me.